for this session, the topic selected is Panchakarma and biopurification methods. So Panchakarma, as many of us may be knowing, that it is often a term which is misquoted or misunderstood as something synonymous to Ayurveda itself. Ayurveda treatment is equated with Panchakarma, or Panchakarma is equated with Ayurveda treatments. So this actually needs more clarity and clarification. And even the term Panchakarma itself is again misunderstood as something inclusive of some oils or some massages or that sort of things. So we certainly believe that it is necessary to bring more clarity and more detailed understanding to this particular topic. We need to go deeply to the scientific base of this particular aspect of Ayurveda, the advantages which one could get out of undergoing this Panchakarma therapy, the cautions, the precautions, and all other niceties associated with this particular area, which is a specialty of the science of Ayurveda. Hence, we are bringing this particular topic for discussion this evening. Once again, welcoming all of you to this session. And as done before, this session also has two halves. The first half will be presenting the topic. The main talk will be conducted. And followed by the talk, the session will be open for questions and answers. You may please put your doubts and queries in the chat box. We shall receive it here. A team of panelists from Arya-Vaidya is here to communicate with all of you. May I introduce the members from Arya-Vaidya who will be participating in this session for the audience. Our Honorable Chief Physician, Dr. P.M. Varia sir, is with us. Formally welcoming you to this event, sir. The Chief Editor of our Publication Department, Professor Dr. K. Murali sir. Sir was the formerly Head of the Department and Professor, Department of Kaya Chikitsa, Government Ayurveda College, Tripunithura. And now we are fortunate to have him with us here. Welcome, sir, to this event formally. The main speaker for this session, Dr. K. Mahesh. Dr. Mahesh is a senior physician attached to the Clinical Research Department of Arya-Vaidya. And Dr. Mahesh also has got a postgraduate degree in Panchakarma. So he'll be speaking to the audience in detail about the subject. And so without much of the introduction, we may move on to the main talk. I request Dr. Mahesh to take over the platform. Mahesh, please.
Good evening to all. Right now, we all know we have a difficult situation of COVID-19 pandemic. Till yesterday, 9.35 million people were affected with COVID in India. So still, we have to, I hope all of us will be following the regulations, the guidelines put forward by the government. So nothing is not temporary. So this COVID also will go. So let's be safe, be positive. So let's start today's discussion. First of all, prayers to Lord Vishwambara and our founder, the great Vaidyaratnam P.S. Varia. Let's go through some data from the World Health Organization's website. 71% of all deaths are due to non-communicable diseases. NCDs, non-communicable diseases, kill 41 million people each year. Cardiovascular diseases account for most NCD deaths, followed by various types of cancer, then respiratory diseases and diabetes. And it's clearly mentioned, tobacco use, physical inactivity, the harmful use of alcohol, and unhealthy diets all increase the risk of dying from an NCD. So how this is happening? Actually, apart from tobacco, physical inactivity, the harmful use of alcohol, the diet, even the air we breathe, the environment we live, all adds to these NCDs. Pathogenesis, when we see the pathogenesis, oxidative stress and inflammation comes in the first. In normal physiology, the equilibrium between the generation of reactive oxygen species or reactive nitrogen species including the free radical, the peroxide, and all those things, and their elimination by the scavenging system, like glutathione, the antioxidants, are in an equilibrium. When gradually, when this equilibrium is lost, slowly we are surrendering to some diseases. So under oxidative stress conditions, excess reactive oxygen species damages the cellular proteins, lipids, and DNA, leading to fatal diseases like this cardiovascular disease, cancers, etc. So here, the equilibrium between the removal of these ROS or RNS, like reactive nitrogen species, is lost, will be surrendering to disease. Likewise, in Modi's medical jurisprudence and toxicology textbook, it's written, in poisoning by the hypodermic injection of morphine, the stomach should always be washed, as after the absorption in the blood, after the morphine goes absorbed in the blood, it's again excreted into the stomach, from which it's again liable to be reabsorbed, like a cycle. So to break this cycle, stomach wash is needed according to this medical jurisprudence. Likewise, in metabolic syndrome, like obesity and all, we know now the adipocytokines, means secreted by our fat cells, the abdominal fat cells secrete various metabolites into our bloodstream. And that is the main cause of diabetes, coronary artery disease, likewise this non-communicable diseases. So that also needs to be removed from the system. There also the normal blood, means the constituents of blood is changed. So likewise, the environment we live, I told, the air we breathe, all are creating these kind of non-communicable diseases. We know our intestine, our gastrointestinal tract is the first organ in our body which is facing lots of toxins, lots of substances. And on average, 25 tons of food materials a human being is taking in his lifetime. So there also we have the gut microbiota. The gut equilibrium of the gut microbiota is disturbed. That causes the inflammation of bowel. Then that intestinal permeability. Intestine has got selective permeability to water and nutrients to enter into the bloodstream. The other harmful materials are not allowed to go inside. When the intestinal permeability is hampered, the undigested food particles, the toxins, are also absorbed to our blood. That's called as leaky gut syndrome. Recent studies shows that it is creating autoimmune conditions like Crohn's disease, irritable bowel syndrome, etc. So in all these lifestyle disorders or non-communicable diseases, removal of the metabolic waste or the biochemical metabolites are needed. According to Ayurveda, since time immemorial, the systemic biopurification is the basis of Ayurvedic treatment system. So there, the main idea behind Panchakarma is the removal of by World Health Organization. World Health Organization defines health as a complete physical, mental, and social well-being, not just merely the absence of disease or infirmity. This definition of health was put forward in 1948, and it has not been amended since then. When we compare, Ayurveda system defines health as a state wherein the dynamic balance of dosha, dhatu, and mala is maintained. The metabolism is at optimum level and the soul, mind and sense organs assume a sublime position. Here, you may not be familiar with the words like dosha, dhatu and mala. Ayurveda system evolved 5,000 years back. During that time, the physiology of our body, the human physiology was explained, was using this dosha, and the dhatu was used for describing the tissues, and mala, the excretory materials. So now we have different systems of our body, different physiological systems we have. All those systems are contained in the Tridosha, covered by Ayurveda. The Tridoshas are Vata, Pitta and Kapha. That is the foundation of Ayurveda, the basic functional units of human body. Right now, we have so many systems we know according to the modern science. During those days, all these systems were contained in this Tridosha. Vata controls movement and pace. All the movements happening in our body, like when we eat food, the transportation of food to the stomach, then from the stomach to the intestine and the excretion, and the movement which is caused when we speak, or the impulse, the movement of impulse in our nervous system. All the movements that is happening in our body was included under Vata. Likewise, transformation is a process happening in our body, the catabolism. The food we eat is digested and absorbed as macro and micronutrients. There, some conversion is happening by the enzymes and hormones and the heat and energy producing system. All these things come under Pitta. That's a digestive fire. Then Kapha. It's an anabolism, the structuring and sustaining of our body. The building blocks, the building system of our body, the glues that join. And in our joints, we have synovial fluid. Likewise, all those are come under Kapha. So right now, we have different systems in our physiology. All these systems are codified into these three and explained by this Tridosha. Disease happens when imbalance or disturbed equilibrium of dosha happens. The first slides we saw that NCDs, the non-communicable disease, happening by the imbalance of the reactive oxygen species and the antioxidants. When that imbalance occurs, NCD happens, or the gut microbiota also. We have a balance in our system. When that balance is disturbed, all the disturbance in that balance is not causing a disease, maybe due to climatic changes, due to environment, slight disturbance will happen. But if that is prolonged for a period, then it will end up in disease. So generally, it can be called as the imbalance or disturbed equilibrium of Tridosha is called as a roga or disease in Ayurveda. The treatment is that which, being well administered, restores the equilibrium of body constituents. We have to restore the equilibrium. That is the treatment. The equilibrium of the Tridosha should be restored. That is the treatment. So Ayurveda, the objectives of Ayurveda, Swastha Vritta, Ayurveda deals with Swastha Vritta and Adura Vritta. Swastha Vritta means, Swastha is the name given for health. So a healthy man's regimen is explained in Swastha Vritta. Swastha Vritta is a separate branch of Ayurveda where what all things we should do from daily on waking up till night, or during seasons, what all things we should do or we should not do. All those regimens are clearly explained in Swastha Vritta. So that is to be followed for being healthy, for maintaining our health. And Adura Vritta deals with the eradication of diseases. We know due to different factors, the equilibrium of Tridosha is hampered and it will end up in diseases. And to restore that equilibrium, the methods to restore the equilibrium are mentioned in the Adura Vritta. So the therapeutic strategy adopted to a patient. When a patient comes to a doctor, an Ayurveda doctor, will be Shodhana and Shamana. All the treatments can be grouped under Shodhana and Shamana. Shodhana is the purificatory methods, biopurificatory methods mentioned, which includes Panchakarma. In some texts, it's called as Pancha Shodhana, where Rakta Mokshana is also included. So, for a patient, Shamana is needed or Shodhana is needed. That is decided by the chronicity of the condition, chronicity of the disease condition, and the prakriti of the patient, and the condition of the patient, where he's the degree of equilibrium imbalance is high. The degree of dosha vitiation is high. That depends on the decision between Shodhana and Shamana. If for the patient, the dosha is not that much disturbed, or it can be corrected by medicines, or it can be corrected by some external therapies, the physician will advise Shamana therapy. That is also called pacification therapy. All the medicines, herbal medicines we advise, and all the external therapies we do comes under Shamana. Shodhanam. It's called as internal cleansing or Antaparimarjana Chikilsa. It's mainly achieved by Panchakarma. External cleansing is another term, or Bahiparimarjana Chikilsa, that include the external therapies which we do, like different kinds of massage, like Pedichil, Abhyangam, etc. And the another branch is surgery or Shastra Pranidhana. There are some diseases which cannot be cured by this internal cleansing and external cleansing. Some removal is needed. There, Shastra Pranidhana or surgery is advocated. So, definition of Panchakarma. Panchakarma deals with bio-cleansing regimen, which helps to bring about the homeostasis of body humus. The body humus means the Tridosha, Vada, Pitta, and Kapha, and eliminate disease-causing complex from the body and check the recurrence and progression of disease. Panchakarma, different names are there explaining Panchakarma, therapeutic pentad, bio-cleansing therapeutic pentad, systemic detoxification, systemic biopurification, etc. Pancha, here the word itself explains the meaning. Pancha means 5, and the karma means the actions. So, Vamana, Virejana, Nasya, and 2 kinds of Vasti, Anuvasana Vasti and Niruha Vasti. That makes the 5 karmas that is included in Panchakarma. The objectives of Panchakarma. Panchakarma can be done in 3 aspects. One is curative measure. As a curative measure, it's the first choice in dosha vitiation of highest degree. The dosha vitiation in a patient, the dosha imbalance in a patient is observed by a physician, and he decides, depending on the taking into consideration the chronicity and the condition of dosha, this curative measure is needed or not. Then the preventive measure, that is done in healthy individuals during the transitional phase of seasons, due to seasonal changes, the imbalance, the mild imbalance in Tridosha equilibrium happens. To correct that, seasonal preventive measures of Panchakarma are clearly mentioned in Swastavrita branch. So, in preventive measure also Panchakarma comes. Then promotive measure. There is another branch called Rasayana therapy. For Rasayana therapy, Panchakarma is done as a promotive measure, as a preparatory procedure. Panchakarma is advised. So, how this Panchakarma is working on our body? Actually, it's based on the Ayurvedic physiology, like I told the Tridosha, the functional units of our body, which is grouped into 3 systems, which includes all the other systems which we have now. So here the main aim is to correct the physiological response of the body in various conditions. It helps the body to re-establish the normal functioning, increase the precision of body activity. The physiological activities precision is increased after Panchakarma. It's not like we are removing the toxins. That is the only thing, like we are doing a surgery by taking out the toxins away from the body. It's not like that. The physiological, we have our defense mechanism. We have our purificatory methods in our body. The detoxifying method, normal physiological methods are there by liver, by kidneys, by skin, and by the GIT. What Panchakarma doing is that it is just correcting that impaired physiology. That's all. So therefore, the body does not surrender to diseases. The materials and methods of Panchakarma. Pre-operative procedures are there, main procedures are there, then the post-operative procedures. Pre-operative procedure, like the name suggests, we need to prepare a patient for Panchakarma. The Vamana, the Virejana, and the five, including the 5 karma, we need to prepare the body for that, so that we do Snehapana and Swedana in the first phase. Snehapana means internal oleation. Usually, we give ghrida, means ghee, cow's ghee. It can be medicated, or it can be plain, or it can be even taila also, til taila also, sesame oil. So that is given to a patient who is posted for Panchakarma for 7 days. The dose will be increased daily depending upon the patient's digestion and the patient's condition. We will start with a small dose of some 25 or 50 ml, and we will calculate the digestion time and the digestive capacity of the patient, and calculating that, we will increase the dose up to a saturation level. We have guidelines to know when we should stop the Snehapana or internal oleation. Usually 5 to 7 days it is done. By 6th or 7th day, the patient body will be saturated with ghrida. Then after that, after ghrida, after processing the body with Snehapana, means with ghee, then we'll be going for Swedana. It's a heat is induced to the body to facilitate perspiration or sweat. That is done for 1 or 2 days. Then the main procedure of Panchakarma comes. Snehapana. We know the substance in our body, the metabolites, the products of metabolism are either fat soluble or water soluble. Water soluble are easily carried through blood and the GIT, because our blood is water soluble. Water soluble contents can be easily carried through blood. Fat soluble needs some special means vehicles to travel through the blood or the GIT. So the salts, bile salts, or the proteins making a phospholipid. In that form, fat is transported. Like from the food, the lipid is transported by phospholipids or chylomicrons to the site. For digestion, for absorption, everything, some vehicle is needed for the fat. But after reaching the cell, it has absolute freedom, because each cell, the cell membrane has it's a bilipid layer, and it is hydrophobic to outside. So for water soluble materials, substances to pass through a cell, it needs ion exchange, or it needs specific gates to transfer. But for fat soluble, it can freely transfer because it is hydrophobic, means it is lipophilic. Then the lipid, after entering a cell, mobilized fat-soluble materials can be mobilized by these lipids from the cells and the intercellular spaces to liver. So in Ayurveda, we use lipid or fat, mainly cow's ghee or tila taila, in coconut oil also is used, as a medium for the drugs to reach the target cells. So that all these drugs can be fat soluble portion of the drugs can be transported easily to the target cells, and it facilitates the flow of morbid materials towards the site of evacuation. The fat soluble morbid materials are taken to the liver, and there it is detoxified, and it's excreted to the GIT, gastrointestinal tract. Toxins and the substance which are not catabolized in the liver are excreted through bile. So bile is a form of means bile is secreted from the liver to the small intestine. It facilitates the excretion of the toxins and many metabolites in liver and cholesterol also. Usually, what happens when we do snehapana in increase the doses, the usually secretion of bile depends on the fat content in the stomach or in the duodenum. When we administer a high more amount of grida, like 250 or 300 ml of grida to a patient, his stomach and his then the small intestine will be having more fat. So more bile needs to be secreted by the liver to emulsify this fat. So more waste materials are excreted to the gut. And when the body is saturated, means when on the 7th or 6th day of Snehapana, when we give the patient some 300 or 250 or 300 ml of ghee, all these grida are not emulsified fully by the fat and it is excreted through feces. So what happens there is usually the cholesterol in bile is reabsorbed. When this emulsifying is not happening fully in the final days of Snehapana, these cholesterol and the other metabolites excreted are excreted through feces. That is why usually when we do Shodhananga Snehapana, means Snehapana means this ghee intake as a preparatory procedure for Panchakarma. Afterwards, if we check the cholesterol level in a patient, the cholesterol level will be less when compared to before Snehapana. So that also, Snehapana also facilitates some detoxification of fat-soluble materials. Then comes after Snehapana, Vedana is a pre-operative procedure we are doing. Here, sweat is induced by the application of heat to the body. Sweat production is caused by the cutaneous vasodilation caused by the applied heat, Svedana, fermentation. We do this in different types of potala, like Patra potala Sveda, Shaftika Shali, Pinta Sveda. So many techniques are there. Pidichil is there, Kaya Seka is there. So all these induce sweat formation. In a study, it is shown that when we have a cold stress, means exposed to extreme cold, 0% blood is seen in our peripheral vessels. The zero, it nearly zeros. When maximum vasoconstriction is there, our blood circulation in the skin will be nearly to zero. And when heat stress is given, when we are doing this Svedana or when we are applying heat for facilitating, inducing perspiration, it is seen that in that vasodilation, 60% of cardiac output are going to the periphery, means our circulation in our skin. This is the study. This is taken from that link is given below. This is a study conducted and it is published in PubMed. When the stimulus is withdrawn, usually after fermentation, fermentation Vedana is done for nearly 45 to 1 hour for a patient. And when that stimulus is withdrawn, the body tries to maintain the thermal homeostasis by causing cutaneous vasoconstriction, which increases the blood flow to the internal organs. And what happens due to that, the waste excretion to gut also is facilitated. So Svedana works in 2 ways. We have this Kerala special treatment here. Whenever we go outside to some tourist place outside Kerala, like Goa or many places, we could see the hoardings or we could see banners like Kerala Panchakarma available, Shirodhara Panchakarma available. Likewise, the people is misled with this Kerala Panchakarma name actually. Kerala special treatments are an elaborate version of this pre-operative procedures, especially Svedana techniques like Navara Kiri or Pidichil or Elakiri, that's Patra Potala Svedam, all these come under this Kerala special treatments. There is nothing like Kerala Panchakarma. In Kerala, special treatments, Shirodhara, Shirovasti, Navarakidi, Pirichil, etc. are there. It has nothing to do with Panchakarma. The Shirodhara, Shirovasti, etc. are actually a Shamana therapy. It's not even Shodhana therapy. So that is misleading, actually. Then comes the main procedure of Panchakarma. It includes, I mentioned earlier, Vamana, Virechana, Nasyam, Anuvasana Vasti, and Niruddha Vasti. Vamana. First, we'll see Vamana. The induction of emesis by emetic medicines. After Snehapana and after Svedana, after the preparatory therapies, we will induce emesis in a patient who is ready for this Vamana procedure with emetic medicines. It is mainly indicated in kapha-vitiated conditions, chronic skin diseases, hypothyroidism, recurrent respiratory tract infections, etc. Mainly kapha-vitiated condition, where vitiation of kapha is more, we usually advocate this Vamana procedure. And so many studies are available in LCVS studies are available online regarding the efficacy of Vamana in many conditions. I have mentioned a success story of management of hypothyroidism with Vamana Karma. The link I have given below. And then comes the Virechana, the induced purgation. Here also, after Snehapana and after Svedana, the purgation, loose bowels are induced by medicines. It is indicated in Pitta-vitiated conditions. Because the sthana, the seat of Pitta, or Amashya, or our stomach, or is the small intestine, is the seat of Pitta. So, in Pitta-vitiated conditions, we advise Virechana mainly. In inflammatory arthritis, metabolic syndrome, chronic skin diseases, etc., we do advise Virechana. And there was a clinical study available where pre and post serum electrolytes was measured in Virechana Karma, and it showed that after the Virechana Karma, the electrolytes, there was no much difference in electrolytes, serum electrolytes in a patient. So in that study, on an average, the mean number of Vega, or number of motions each patient had, was 17. So even after having 17 times bowel movement, the serum electrolytes was not affected. So this Virechana cannot be it cannot be told equal to diarrhea or something. It's a altered and controlled physiological activity which is done in a patient. Then comes the Vasti. It's like an enema, administration of medicines through anal route. The Vasti is of two types, Asthavana or Niruddha Vasti, and Anuvasana or Anuvasana Vasti, or lubricating type of enema. The Asthavana Vasti, we do Vasti with emulsion, means specially prepared decoctions, and oil, specially indicated oils are used, are mixed in and made into an emulsion. Mixing techniques of these Vastis are also important. It's clearly mentioned how to mix and how to there are suspended particles are also, like kalka added, and finally it is formed an emulsion of oil in water. That is the material. With that we do enema. Here the composition or the constituents of this Asthavana Vasti depends on the condition of the patient. The decoction will be different. Sometimes the kalka or the suspended particles will be different. The thyla will be different. And all these things are mixed and it is introduced to the patient's anal region. And it travels up to the colon, and there in this enema or Vasti, it induces secretions and movements from the large intestine by stimulating the gut, brain, or enteric nervous system. That is an it included in the autonomic nervous system. It creates a osmotic difference between the intestine in the inside interior and inside the intestine, and there is a ion exchange, or some materials are absorbed into the bowel, and some from medicines are absorbed into the system. Like exchange of substances or medicines are happening in Vasti. And after every Asthavana Vasti or the decoction enema, or this Vasti done with a medicine prepared and as an emulsion, in between, as lubricating enema of prescribed oil is also done. And finally, Natsya is the fifth karma, where nasal administration of medicine is advised. Usually it is done with the oil, medicated oil, Kshirabala Thailam or Anu Thaila, or sometimes it is done with Swarasa also, depending on the condition of the patient or the disease. Nasal administration of medicaments is the procedure. It stimulates the nasal mucosa. The medicine is spread to the sinuses and cleanses the system. It is indicated in various diseases of the head and systemic disease of the neuroendocrine origin. Here what happens is that when we irritate the nasal mucosa, a hyperemia occurs over that sinuses. So blood circulation increases there. There also the exchange of substances happen. At the same time, it's an excretory procedure. It facilitates in secretion of some morbid materials. At the same time, medicine is also absorbed. So two ways Natsya is working. It's mainly advocated in the chronic sinusitis or allergies or cervical spondylosis, etc. Periarthritis also. Then after the Panchakarma, while the main procedures, while doing the preparatory procedures, we subjected the patient's body to an altered physiology, a controlled and altered physiology. Then after the procedure, we need the gradual restoration of metabolic activities in the body. We need the body to come into the normalcy, because the pre-morbid condition, the body should maintain a pre-morbid condition. So we have post-operative procedures according to the different Panchakarma. So techniques are regulation of diet, regulation of activities are advised during this period. So usually after Vamana and after Virechana, in our Shastra, in our science, it is told that the Agni or the digestive fire will be in an Anu form. So we must kindle that to the normalcy, to a normal digestive capacity. Slowly to kindle that, we must first administer very light carbohydrate. Then we must add digestible proteins into the system. Then finally, at the last, fat is also introduced into the diet, and slowly the normal we make the patient's body into a normal physiological system. So now I remember the very renowned Vaidya Bhushanam Sri Rakun Tirunpada, in his famous book Panchakarma, has mentioned about an experiment. In that experiment, a single cell from the a chicken heart, from the heart of a hen, a single cell was taken, extracted, and it was means in external atmosphere, it was continued as a live cell in a laboratory. So when it is observed daily, it was applied with nutrition, the essential nutrition, and it was not subjected to the external atmosphere like what we do and that we suffer. And what changes noticed were the longevity of that single cell was far more increased than the normal ones, which is there when with the hen, when it's in the system. So that shows the environment we live, the food, the activities we do are the main cause of our aging or our all these non-communicable diseases. And if we are changing our lifestyle to on the Ayurvedic way of life, if we follow the Ayurvedic way of life, we can maintain that equilibrium and we can live long. There are so many misconceptions regarding Panchakarma and Ayurveda. This picture, 2 days back when I just Googled the internet, I got Navarakiri. The picture is showing Navarakiri technique, but see in that, in a basin, the rice is there mixed with milk, and they are doing sudation modality, like Shastika Shali Pindas Veda with this. These kind of pictures will, or these kind of advertisement, or these kind of will hoardings, or this advertisement will mislead the common public. Everywhere where we see an advertisement of Panchakarma or a hoarding of Panchakarma, we'll be seeing dhara, that too, pouring of oil or water to the forehead with a vessel. And Shirodhara was also mentioned as Panchakarma. And Keraliya Panchakarma, like I told earlier, it's a misled word. Panchakarma, Shirodhara and Panchakarma, it's not entirely different. So the scope and relevance, the detoxification we can have by properly administering the Panchakarma according to the science. The functional optimization of enzymatic complex, the restoration of pre-morbid condition, immunomodulation and rejuvenation. And now we'll see some cases which we treated at our hospital. Case one, this is a case of psoriasis, a 35-year-old male. He's a vegetable vendor at Tirur market. When he came to the OP, this was his situation. He told usually for his work he was not in the habit of wearing a shirt. It was convenient for his work just to wear a lungi, and like that he was working. But his main complaint was since last 1 or 2 years, all over his body these kind of psoriatic patches appeared, and he was when he came to the OPD, he was wearing a full sleeve shirt with buttoned up to the collar, and he was feeling that he was getting isolated from the community. Everyone was asking what was the problem. Likewise, so it was giving a mental torture to him actually. So it's an autoimmune condition. We admitted the patient. We did Vamana and Virechana in this patient, and after some few months, this was his situation. All these patches vanished, and only some marks were there. And we followed the patient for almost 2 years, but he was okay during those times. In the case two, this is a lady of in her late 20s. She was having a 10-15 years of history of inflammatory arthritis, rheumatoid arthritis, and she was telling her that her day, every day starts at 11 o'clock. She used to wake up at 7 o'clock or 6 o'clock, but she was not able to get up. She was having severe morning stiffness, severe pain in her joints. This was her condition when she consulted at the OPD. Actually, she was a patient of our chief superintendent and additional chief physician, Murali sir. And sir referred her to our department for the inpatient treatment. And this was her condition when she got admitted. After the treatment, when she was leaving the hospital, she was walking freely, not like a normal person, but still she was not having that much joint stiffness, that much pain in her joints. She was smiling, she was happy, and now also she's continuing the medicines. She's almost some 80-90% cure. Cure we can't say, because this is an autoimmune condition, but at the moment with the medicines, with the treatment, she's okay. She has stopped her steroids, which she was taking since the last 10-15 years. So this was the second case. And case 3 also is a case of psoriasis, where the lesion was only on the big toe. This is a 25-year-old lady. She was also taking medicine since last 5 years for the single lesion. This was oozing and with severe pain, burning sensation. And she was telling she attempted for a suicide because of this condition. And she was admitted, and she was done this Omena, Virejana, etc. And when she was discharged, and after 1 month of follow-up, when she came back, this was the condition of her big toe. So, Panchakarma, according to classics, if we do a Panchakarma, a full course of Panchakarma, it needs 129 days. Usually, all the 5 karmas are done when we prepare a patient, a person, prior to Rasayana therapy. In that cases, 129 days it will take to complete a full course of Panchakarma. And Shastra also mentions a medium course of 85 days and a minimum course of 56 days. So in this era, it is not much possible. So when a patient is having, in a curative aspect, we are doing Panchakarma, all these 5 karma are not needed in a patient. According to the condition and the tonicity of the disease, we can select depending upon the dosha vitiation, 1 or 2 karmas, and we can do. Usually, the patient is admitted for a 21 or 28 or even 14 days course of treatment. So, with this, I am concluding my session. These were the references, and thank you all for the patient listening.
So much, Dr. Mahesh, for covering the comprehensive aspects of this particular topic, especially the theoretical and practical applications of Panchakarma for our audience. So we shall move on to the question and answer session.
Thank you, Dr. Singh.
May I request Professor Murali sir to unmute yourself, sir? Hello, sir. Am I audible to you, sir?
Okay.
Okay, sir. Sir, we have received a few questions here, sir. Most of the questions which we have received are basically disease-based. So I shall just mention a few of them, sir. The question about seborrheic dermatitis, hypothyroidism, and gastric issues. Are all these conditions curable through Ayurveda? That is one question, sir.
You see, that depends. Actually, the pathology of a disease may be common, but its manifestations may differ person to person. So that is because of the bodily peculiarities. Ayurveda conceives so many bodily peculiarities like prakriti, constitution of the body, and sapnya, habituation of lifestyle, and sattva, the strength of body and mind. So each body is actually unique. So we have to consider these things also before formulating a particular disease. So that is why we say that Ayurveda treat the patient, not the disease. So there will not be a single answer to your question. Also, there are severity of the disease. There can be, according to the severity of the disease, the diseases are classified in Ayurveda as Mridu, Madhyam, and Dharanam. That means mild, moderate, and severe. So all this has to be considered, the chronicity of the disease. So all this has to be considered to give a clear answer to your question. But there are treatment approaches. Whatever may be the disease, there is a particular treatment approach in Ayurveda with which we can manage, and if if the disease is so much incurable, we can at least make it manageable also. So this is the answer to your question. Thank you for the question.
Thank you, sir. I think sir's answer has covered one more question which we received here. It is about type 2 diabetes mellitus and rheumatoid arthritis. Do you have something to add to that particular question, sir?
So diabetes is considered by Charaka as the most chronic disease. Prameho Anushankinam, that is the Sanskrit verse mentioned in Charaka Samhita. So it is something incurable, but we can prevent the complications of the disease. Actually, the patient, the diabetes becomes fatal because of its complications. There are complications related to the nervous system, complications related to the renal system, kidney. So that will make the eventuality of the disease. By Ayurvedic treatment, we can prevent these complications or at least delay the complications. So that is the answer to the curability of diabetes.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you, sir. May I request our Chief Physician, Dr. P.M. Varia, sir, to come to the scene, sir, please? Sir. Hello, sir. Sir.
Yes, I can
Sir.
hear you.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Sir, you have pretty good experience with treating psoriasis cases, sir. So this question is about psoriasis. What special therapies do you adopt for diseases like psoriasis? Would you please respond to that query, sir?
Thank you, Sunita. I hope I am audible.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
There are routine treatments for psoriasis like Takradhara, then some Takradhara and even some Tailadhara and other treatments we usually conduct for psoriasis. But there are special mentions, and all of you must have heard of Rasayanas. Rasayana is used to boost the health of a normal individual, as well as it can be used to treat a very chronic patient. The skin diseases generally and psoriasis becomes in that group. So we can treat psoriasis with Rasayana. There are special mention of Tubaraga Rasayanam for the management of psoriasis, not psoriasis, for the in Ayurveda we call as Kushta for all the skin diseases, and psoriasis also is one of them. But since the subject here is Panchakarma, and Rasayana requires a preparation of the patient to undergo the treatment of Rasayana. That preparation is done through Panchakarma. You must have seen that during the presentation of Dr. Mahesh, that Vamana and Virechana are very useful and prescribed for chronic skin diseases. So before administering the Tuvaraga Rasayana, the patient is prepared with Snehapana, then mild Svedana, and in some cases with Vamana, in some cases with Virechana, that depending on the condition of the patient. Then this Tuvaraga Rasayanam is administered only for 5 days and in a dose of around 15 milliliter, which will produce purgation as well as vomiting simultaneously. Simultaneously means within a period of 2-3 hours. The precautions is to be taken very strictly. Namely, the patient should not be given anything hot. He has to use everything cold. Then no oily substances will be given. Then after morning administration of the Rasayana, which is done in between the meals, and then the second meal is at evening. Only 2 meals are there. And along with that, many times we used to give him an abhinga and a simple massage with Tuvaraga Tailam, which is found very effective. And after that, for 2 weeks, the patient must be under strict diet using only rice and green gram soup. Nothing else will be given. So this will help to manage the psoriasis in a big way. We have experience, which is around 20 years back, one patient who has undergone this treatment is still now having no problem, no recurrence of psoriasis. But that is not applicable to all the patients. Many patients have recurrence, but the severity will be less and it is easy to manage. So Tubaraga Thailam is one of the best treatments, but the patient must have the willpower to withstand the purgation as well as the vomiting and all other associated, I don't say problems, associated events. So it's a very good treatment. Thank you, Sunita.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. Dr. Mahesh, a few questions connected to the specifically to the Panchakarma. So one thing is, how frequently one should undergo Panchakarma therapies? And one sub-question is there, which oil is best for bones? Which oil is best for bones?
Thank you for the question, and that's a good question. How frequently we should do Panchakarma? Usually, Panchakarma as a curative aspect, it is done in chronic conditions, chronic lifestyle disorders, or chronic degenerative conditions like neuromuscular degeneration, etc., and autoimmune conditions, etc. So the disease is chronic. So it is better if you can administer Panchakarma like once a year, or usually what we advise patients is that after 6 months, before 1 year, they can again repeat the course of treatment. And to stabilize that, the effects we got from the treatment, to stabilize that effect, it can be continued repeatedly. And for curative Panchakarma, not preventive Panchakarma, which happens when due to the seasonal transition, in the imbalance of dosha due to while the seasonal transition happens, there we can do every these transitions. That's all. There is no rule like once. Usually patients say if we do a course of Panchakarma this year, it must be continued for 3 years, then only that effect will get. Nothing like that. It depends on the condition of the patient, the chronicity of the disease. Thank you, Sundar. Then the best oil for joints. We can't say, we can't suggest an oil for joints, but usually we advise Gandha Taila for this degenerative joint diseases, this osteoporosis and all. Gandha Taila is found to be effective. It's there in the capsule form also. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Mahesh. So we are coming to the end of the session. Prior to the concluding, may I request our respected additional chief physician, Dr. K. Muralidharan sir, to join us. Sir, are we audible to you, sir? Hello, sir.
Yes, Sunita, I am.
Sir, would you please join us for a short while before concluding? Would you please share one of your valuable clinical experiences, especially with regard to the this particular topic, sir? And also, there is one query regarding myopathy, sir. Sir, if you would kindly address these two things, it would be of great help, sir.
Thank you, Dr. Sunita. Am I audible to you?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Am I audible?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And thank you for giving me an opportunity to join the team. And I have been listening to Dr. Mahesh. He has done a wonderful presentation, very comprehensive one.
Thank you.
And I was just listening to one word. He was using the word altered physiology. That's a good term. Altered physiology is, in a way, a pathology. So I remember an incident, a case. A patient, a foreigner, came to Kottakkal Ayurvedishala with a particular mission. It was not to get some medicines prescribed to undergo treatment or something like that. He came, and incidentally, I was the doctor on duty. He came to me with a lot of papers. What he wanted was he wanted to discuss about his case. I gave him a decent hearing. He started telling like this, doctor, my real problem is it started long back. Since childhood, I have been getting infections at various points of time. And I have been using so many antibiotics to kill the bacteria. Finally, what happened? My body has become a graveyard of microorganisms because bacteria are killed by the antibiotics, but it is not taken out from them. So he has a strong feeling that his body has become a graveyard, a burial ground. How can you help me to get out of this situation? That was his very strong feeling. As you rightly, Dr. Mahesh rightly said, it was an altered physiology. I asked him, what actually you feel? This is only your conviction or whatever imagination. Put in your imagination. He told me it is not like that. I was a very positive person. But of late, I am becoming more and more lethargic. I am not able to do, by profession, he was an engineer. I am not able to attend my work. Most of the time, I am sleeping. I have been taking several vitamins. I have been taking several tonics. I have been taking some Ayurvedic medicines like Chyawanprash. Nothing works. So I'm totally disappointed. Can you help me by suggesting some treatment? Then immediately the very word came to me. Maybe we say Dushi Bisham or Garam, whatever. Why? How can I deny him that his imagination is baseless? This may happen because we are all using so many medicines, not probiotic, antibiotic medicines. What is the action of antibiotic? It kills the bacteria or whatever the microorganisms. Is it taken out? What is very, very sarcastically asked me, do you have any method to take it out? That cleaning a burial ground, graveyard. That he was putting that question to me. I said, we have some methods. I'm prepared to stay here for a few days and take a course of treatment. I'm prepared. Then I started explaining I gave him a lesson, a class about this Panchakarma therapy, its principles, its practice, what all things can be expected, all these things. He appeared to be a little bit convinced about our approach. He decided to stay in the hospital. And though we could not do all the Panchakarmas, certain parts of Panchakarma treatment were given to him. I vividly remember. It was mainly Basti and Nasya. These were the two treatments given to him. After a preparatory treatment and with little bit of counseling, I felt that counseling is more important over the course of Panchakarma treatment. One should have some imagination about the underlying diseases, pathology, and all these things. And luckily, our treatment, our method, proved very positive because he started getting some strength. He was able to do certain things of his own. He recovered from his lethargic conditions. And also, he told me, I have started reading my own engineering books, textbooks. I was not able to do that work. Because after a period of, say, 4 weeks, he became more or less a normal person and started doing his work normally. I don't believe the story he has narrated to me, but that's the principle inside. That is, the toxin accumulated inside the body, inside certain organ, whichever be the organs in the system, due to various reasons. It could be abuse of certain medicines, it could be some allergy, it could be some exposure to something, it could be alcohol, it could be anything which belongs to our science Visha Swabhava, that is harmful to the tissues. So such things that need some particular attention. That way, Ayurveda has a very big role, especially in modern times. We are getting some food. We know that it is not that good. It is not of great purificatory. It is very purified one. The air, the water, the food, also the emotions even are not very pure that way. So in such a situation, I believe that the scope of Ayurvedic treatment is very much during the current, during the present time. That is the only thing I have to add to your to their theory and practice of Panchakarma, and other things are well answered by my gurus. So I don't want to comment anything about it. Anyway, it was a wonderful session, and thank you for giving me an opportunity to share a small incident. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much. So we are supposed to end the session by now. For want of time, we still have a few more questions, but we may have to request them to contact us through our email ID or our website. Please feel free to contact us on mail@aryvedishala.com. And you may please visit our website, www.aryvedishala.com. On the website, we have furnished all our contact details for all medical and administration related queries. You may please get in touch with us through our website or email. And we have also opened a full-fledged teleconsultation wing in the present COVID situation. So please feel free to access our doctors through that particular channel also. Once again, we thank all the dignitary audience who joined us on this virtual platform for listening to this particular topic. We hope the session served its purpose, making or giving clarity to your understanding on this particular theme. Thanking all of you on behalf of Aryvedishala and formally thanking the panelists for your valuable time. Thank you all. Thank you, sirs. So we shall wrap it up here.
Thank you. Thank you very much.